So, what exactly is happening here? Well, the southern border is essentially locked down. So, that's forcing the agents actually had to shoot out one of the engines of the boat, which is actually very small and underwater. Take a listen to what the Air Marine Operations Deputy Director had to say about this incident and what they're doing on the water. At precisely 5:30 hours, as dawn broke over the churning waters of the Pacific, near the U.S.-Mexico maritime boundary, radar screens inside a Navy command center lit up. Small, fast-moving vessels were detected, running dark and moving toward American waters. These were not fishing boats or tourist craft. Intelligence had confirmed that cartel smugglers, part of a $13 billion criminal empire, had shifted their operations from land to sea. With the southern border fortified and ground crossings restricted, the cartels were adapting, launching daring incursions by water. The smugglers had long relied on speed and surprise. In the past, they could simply drive trucks across shallow border areas or land small craft onto U.S. shores with impunity. But this time they were entering a different battlefield. The U.S. Navy and Coast Guard, reinforced by Customs and Border Protection and supported by federal partners, had turned the coastline into a militarized shield. Drones, patrol aircraft, and intercept boats stood ready to counter every move. What began as a hidden approach quickly became a confrontation that would define the stakes of America's border war. Before we reveal how the Navy shut down this latest cartel operation, make sure you subscribe right now because these unfolding missions may change how you see the fight for America's security. As one Navy officer described it, "If you don't stop when we pursue you, we'll make you stop." Those words were not rhetoric. They were backed by real firepower. The smugglers had chosen a high-risk route, but their opponents had superior surveillance. For weeks, Navy reconnaissance drones had been mapping boat movements, tracking supply lines, and building profiles of the crews. Every intercepted radio call, every refueling point, every deviation from normal fishing patterns had been logged. Now the intelligence picture was complete. These were not isolated criminals. They were part of a billion-dollar logistics chain running cocaine, fentanyl, and human cargo from cartel strongholds into the United States. The estimated street value of a single successful run exceeded $50 million. Multiply that across hundreds of runs each year, and the scale of profit was staggering. The Navy's orders were clear. Stop the incursion without triggering casualties, but disabled the vessels before they reached American beaches. The Coast Guard had already reported 350 separate cases where engines had to be shot out to halt smugglers at sea. Each time the protocol was followed, warnings issued, escalation measured, and finally, precision fire when smugglers ignored every command. Not one injury had been recorded, a fact that Navy officials described as both remarkable and essential to maintaining operational credibility. But this morning's confrontation would be different. The cartel convoy had armed escorts on board, and intelligence suggested they might resist capture with lethal force. That made this more than a routine interdiction. Navy destroyers were already holding offshore, their radar system scanning every approach corridor. Surveillance drones orbited high above, relaying live imagery to command centers. Helicopter crews stood by, armed and ready for rapid response. Each second mattered. At sea, the line between pursuit and escape can vanish in moments. The smugglers' boats were built for speed, their engines capable of outrunning most civilian craft, but against naval aviation and precision-guided assets, they were badly overmatched. This was not a chase the cartel could win. Yet, as one intelligence analyst noted, every time a cartel boat runs for the border, the U.S. faces more than a tactical challenge. It is a test of deterrence. The cartels are probing American defenses, measuring how far they can push before force is used. If the Navy fails to act decisively, the signal to cartel leaders is clear. Keep sending boats. But if the Navy strikes it back hard, the cartels pay a price that shakes their empire. And so the standoff intensified. The smugglers refused commands to halt. Engines roared as the boats tried to weave through patrol lines. Warning shots fired into the sea when ignored. The Navy commander gave the order, "Disable the vessels now." And the first helicopter swung into firing position. Gunners prepared to unleash precision rounds designed to shatter engines without harming lives. The moment had come. The clash between a cartel empire worth $13 billion and the full weight of U.S. naval power was about to explode. The order to disable engines was not given lightly. In the Gulf waters that morning, 3 cartel boats raced toward U.S. territory, their wakes cutting white scars across the ocean surface. Behind them trailed the weight of a $13 billion smuggling empire, an empire built on narcotics, human trafficking, and the ruthless enforcement of criminal profit. Ahead of them waited the most advanced maritime force on Earth. The Navy helicopter team aligned for the strike. Each round was calculated, each trigger pull measured. Precision fire hit the first target. The left engine of the lead boat erupted in smoke, sputtering to silence. The smugglers tried to compensate with their remaining engine, but the sudden loss of power doomed their maneuver. The vessel slowed, dead in the water. The second boat veered hard to port, engines screaming as it tried to break free, but surveillance drones overhead had already locked its position. From thousands of feet up, infrared imagery captured every movement. A Coast Guard interceptor surged forward, engines roaring, closing the gap. The smugglers ignored orders to halt. More warning shots arced across the bow, hissing into the sea. Still, they pressed on. The next burst of precision fire shredded their propulsion system. The vessel spun sideways and ground to a halt, waves crashing against its hull. Here's the question every American needs to ask. What would you do if cartels tried to force their way into your community? Drop your thoughts in the comments. But while these interdictions showed the effectiveness of U.S. tactics, the scale of the challenge remained daunting. Smuggling by sea was not an accident. It was a deliberate adaptation by criminal organizations after the land border was tightened under federal directives. With southern crossings sealed, cartels shifted to maritime routes. Intelligence reports confirmed more than $350 incidents where Navy and Coast Guard units had been forced to physically disable engines of smuggler boats. Each case followed the same escalating protocol. First came verbal commands by loudspeaker, then warning shots into the sea. Only when smugglers refused every attempt did U.S. forces deploy precision fire directly against engines. The remarkable fact, despite hundreds of shootouts at sea, not one reported injury to smugglers or U.S. personnel. The Navy called it lethal precision applied non-lethally. It was proof of training, discipline, and technology working in unison. Yet behind the tactical victories loomed the larger strategic concern. Cartels are not just opportunistic criminals. They are militarized enterprises. They use encrypted communications, armored safe houses, and fleets of custom-built smuggling boats. Their industry generates an estimated $13 billion per year, rivaling the GDP of smaller nations. Each shipment interdicted at sea represented not just lost cargo, but lost millions in cartel revenue, and that made them desperate. Intelligence intercepted cartel discussions, describing the Navy's maritime crackdown as crippling and unsustainable for their networks. But even as their tone grew alarmed, their actions grew bolder. Smugglers experimented with new routes, longer voyages, and even decoys. Some boats carried migrants alongside narcotics, a tactic designed to complicate U.S. engagement rules. Others ran at night with engines silenced, betting that darkness might blind America's surveillance grid. They were wrong. Drones equipped with thermal sensors cut through the night. A Poseidon patrol aircraft scanned vast stretches of ocean, their systems detecting even faint heat signatures. Coast Guard cutters pushed deeper into contested waters, coordinating with Navy destroyers. Each time cartels shifted tactics, U.S. forces adapted faster. But the cat-and-mouse game came at a cost. Deploying destroyers, aircraft, and drone fleets against smuggling boats drained resources designed for global operations. Critics asked whether naval assets belonged in coastal law enforcement missions. Commanders countered that the cartel threat was no ordinary law enforcement challenge. These were heavily armed, organized transnational groups whose profits fueled violence across both sides of the border. Allowing them to operate unchecked was not an option. The stakes were clear. Every interdiction was not just about one boat. It was about preventing an empire worth billions from projecting power onto American shores. It was about ensuring that drugs, weapons, and violent enforcers never reached U.S. streets. And it was about proving that no matter how cartels adapted, the U.S. military and its partners would adapt faster. As the disabled vessels drifted under Coast Guard control, Navy commanders assessed the operation. Engines destroyed, crews detained, and cargo seized. Another tactical victory had been secured. But for every boat stopped, dozens more were preparing to launch. The battle at sea was only beginning. and the cartels were determined to test America's resolve. The border wall may rise from the sands of California to the Gulf of Texas. But at sea there are no walls, only open water. That reality forced the U.S. Navy and Coast Guard to expand their maritime footprint. By mid-2025, Navy reports confirmed over 350 recorded interdictions of cartel vessels at sea. Every single one required costly deployments of personnel, ships, and aircraft. The complexity of those missions revealed a deeper truth. Cartels were not improvising anymore. They were running operations modeled after militaries. Surveillance showed smugglers staging boats along Mexican beaches at night, running reconnaissance skiffs ahead of the main shipment, and using encrypted satellite phones to coordinate. Some groups even employed counter-surveillance teams on shore, scanning for Coast Guard cutters and Navy helicopters with long-range binoculars. These were not amateurs. They were disciplined operators backed by billions of dollars in annual profit. The scale of that profit, $13 billion per year, meant cartels could replace lost boats and arrested crews almost instantly. What they could not replace was momentum. Every shipment disrupted, every vessel disabled, chipped away at their ability to project power. And it is that battle of attrition that U.S. naval commanders quietly say is turning the tide. But attrition has its price. A single Navy destroyer deployed to interdict smugglers cost nearly $20 million per week to operate. Drone fleets require maintenance. Helicopters burn fuel at staggering rates. Every intercepted shipment may stop millions in drugs from entering the U.S., but the financial weight of constant patrols strains American resources. Critics in Washington have asked, is this sustainable? Commanders answer with one word, necessary, because the alternative means cartel speedboats racing unchallenged into U.S. waters. It means drugs arriving in Florida harbors, in California coves, in Texas bays. It means criminal profits funding assassinations, kidnappings, and corruption on both sides of the border. The Navy argues that the cost of inaction far outweighs the cost of constant patrols. Suspense builds in another dimension, technology. In 2025, the Navy announced new contracts for unmanned XP-4 drone systems designed to extend maritime surveillance. Unlike manned aircraft, XP-4 seconds can remain airborne for hours at a fraction of the cost. Their folded wings allow storage on ships, but once deployed, they glide through the skies, scanning vast ocean expanses. These drones carry not only cameras, but also cargo spare parts, supplies, even rescue equipment. Their endurance makes them a force multiplier, a persistent eye in the sky, where smugglers once counted on empty horizons. Yet, the cartels watch these advances closely. Intelligence reports suggest they are already testing counter-drone tactics. Radar jammers, camouflage nets, even decoy vessels meant to trick sensors. It is an escalating cycle. U.S. forces innovate, cartels adapt, and then U.S. forces adapt faster. Here's what you need to think about. If cartels can spend billions adapting like nation-states, should America treat them as simple criminals or as something much bigger? Comment your answer below. While technology advances, geography remains unyielding. The southern borders, rivers, deserts, and oceans stretch for thousands of miles. Cartel leaders understand that the U.S. cannot be everywhere at once. They exploit that reality by launching simultaneous incursions across multiple zones, hoping to overwhelm response capacity. It is a strategy rooted in military doctrine, diluting enemy forces through dispersion. But America counters with integration. The Coast Guard, Navy, Border Patrol, Homeland Security, and even state law enforcement now operate under unified command structures. Joint operations rooms fuse intelligence in real time when a drone spots a suspicious vessel. Alerts ripple instantly to cutters, helicopters, and patrol craft. Within minutes, interceptors converge. What once took hours now takes moments. Still, the political backdrop complicates every mission. Mexican officials under mounting pressure publicly reject the idea of U.S. military operations on their soil. That leaves cartels free to launch from protected territory as long as their bases remain beyond American reach. Smugglers retain a critical sanctuary. The U.S. Navy can dominate at sea. But the source of the problem lies inland, where political constraints tie military hands. That is why commanders emphasize deterrence. Each interdiction is not only about stopping one boat. It is about sending a message across the border. A message that the United States will not allow criminal empires, no matter how well-funded, to operate unchallenged. The next test would prove just how far both sides were willing to go. At dawn, off the coast of Southern California, Navy destroyers moved silently through rolling waves. On their radars, a cluster of small, fast-moving contacts appeared suspected cartel boats racing north at full throttle. Within minutes, MH-60R Sea Hawk helicopters lifted from the decks, their sensors locked on the vessels below. The smugglers had counted on speed. Their lightweight fiberglass hulls and high-horsepower engines could outpace most civilian craft. But against naval aircraft equipped with infrared cameras and laser-G-guided targeting pods, there was no escape. Pilots tracked every movement. Over-secure comms an order echoed, "Disable, not destroy." Warning shots cracked across the waves. One boat slowed, its crew throwing hands skyward. Another swerved violently, refusing to comply. That decision sealed its fate. Precision fire targeted its outboard engine. Sparks flew, smoke poured, and the vessel drifted to a halt. Coast Guard interceptors swept in, boarding the craft and placing the crew in custody. The chase ended in seconds. 4S commanders, this was not just another interdiction. It was message delivery clear and undeniable. Cartel networks valued mobility, but mobility could no longer save them. Technology, training, and coordination had turned the open ocean into a controlled battle space. Yet beneath the success lurked a deeper problem. Intelligence analysts confirm cartels are now investing heavily in maritime infrastructure hidden coves, fuel depots, and supply chains stretching through Central America. They adapt quickly, reinvesting their $13 billion empire into new tactics as fast as the U.S. can counter them. Critics ask, what happens if the cartels escalate further? What if they begin arming their boats with heavier weapons or align with foreign suppliers? For Washington policymakers, those questions grow louder with every intercepted shipment. Some lawmakers already push for designating the cartels as terrorist organizations, a shift that would unlock broader military options. Others warned that such moves risk inflaming diplomatic tensions with Mexico. But on the deck plates of Navy destroyers and Coast Guard cutters, there is no time for politics. For sailors and agents, the mission remains brutally simple. Stop every vessel, interdict every shipment, prevent every incursion. Failure is not an option. Even so, no operation lasts forever. Commanders quietly acknowledge the danger of exhaustion. Ships require maintenance. Aircraft need overhaul. Crews rotate. Cartel leaders know this too. Their strategy may be to wait, adapt, and surge when attention drifts. That is why U.S. operations now emphasize persistence, not just one-off raids, but sustained pressure to deny the cartels breathing room. As one Coast Guard officer summarized, we are not fighting fishermen with outboard motors. We are fighting billion-dollar organizations with global reach. If we pause, they win. And so the confrontation continues. The border wall may extend into the sea, but the real defense lies in constant vigilance. Drones circling above, destroyers patrolling the horizon, interceptors launching at first warning. For the cartels, each failed run represents lost profit, lost trust, and rising fear. For the United States, each success is a step toward dismantling an empire that thrives on chaos. In the end, this is not just about drugs or boats. It is about sovereignty. America, refusing to allow foreign criminal empires to carve paths into its territory. It is about deterrence, strength, and an unmistakable message. The border is no longer open water. The cartel empire thought the ocean was their highway. Instead, it became their graveyard. Do you believe the U.S. should treat cartels as full-scale terrorist threats? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for Black Vault.